Very much. This is your debut. Hello everybody. There is someone I would like you to meet. This is Cash. He is our baby boy. He was born on the 16th of January, 2 weeks early and very fast. He's smiling at me. He's just had his 8-week vaccine today. He's 9 weeks though. We have just been feeding. I have his milk here because he's drinking a little bit slowly today after the vaccine, and we're all very much for a contact nap today, which I am totally okay with. He may wake on and off from my voice, I think, in this video, but I've been really excited to share my birth story with you all. If you've seen the title, considering he was my firstborn, I gave birth earlier than expected and a lot quicker than expected as well, which definitely goes against a lot of the advice that you'd given and, you know, all the common stories when it comes to first-time mums. So his due date was the 28th of January and we were definitely expecting him to come in February. Number one, because he is my first, and obviously everyone tells you that you're either somewhere close to your due date or you go over on your due date. So I really thought that was going to be the case for me as well. We just kind of had it in our heads that he was going to come in February. So we weren't exactly prepared for when he came. We were definitely prepared in the way that we had everything we needed. I'd actually only just packed my hospital bag, I think a few days prior to this, but it was more mentally because we just had it in our heads that he was coming. I thought we had another couple of weeks, to be honest, before he was going to come. So even, you know, during labour I was thinking this can't be it, surely. But lo and behold, he came. And yes, the other thing to note is it was a very fast delivery. Again, with being a first-time mum, everybody tells you that you're in for the long haul, it's going to take a while, but not in my case. And I wanted to share my story because I know that can be really daunting to some people, myself included. You know, if I had to go through that for a long period of time, I definitely would have caved. But I understand, unfortunately, that is the truth for some people, and I have so much respect for women that go unmedicated during a long labour, because that pain is something else. No one can really prepare you for that kind of pain, and no, I have not forgotten yet. I'm still waiting. I'm not really sure where to start. I haven't really written any notes or thought how I might tell this out, so I am just retelling the story as I remember it. I just want to note as well that even though I might complain that it was fast, it was painful, all these other little things, but it was definitely a positive birth. When I look back, I really can't complain, and I'm so lucky and grateful to have had that experience. I'm really sorry if that was not the case for you, and I hope that you can heal from that. It's definitely traumatic, and well, hopefully this just gives a little bit of peace of mind for anyone who is nervous and, you know, get really consumed with all the really negative stories and just bombarded with all these scary situations. I was definitely falling into that trap a little bit because I just wanted to know everyone's birth story. Even now, I am just so interested by everyone's birth story. I think I just wanted to go in knowing every different type of birth situation possible, but I don't think any single two are the same, so there'll be absolutely millions of different stories out there. So I'm just adding mine to that pot now. So on the morning of the 16th of January at 4 in the morning, I'd already woken up, and that was quite typical in the days leading up to giving birth. I I was very lucky actually, because I was sleeping really, really well throughout pregnancy. And even towards the end, you know, when most people get uncomfortable and they can't sleep, I definitely had a couple of nights where, you know, I was light sleeping. I definitely was uncomfortable, but mine was that I was waking up 3-4 o'clock in the morning. So it was quite natural for me to wake up at 4 o'clock, but as I was reading the news on my phone, because that's what I like to do when I wake up, I started to get these extra tightenings in my tummy, and it wasn't like Braxton Hicks, and I was getting Braxton Hicks from my second trimester, so I was very familiar with what that felt like, and it just felt a little bit different. And so every time I was getting one, I was really aware, and I was thinking, oh, this does not feel the same. So eventually, after I'd had a few, I got out a contraction timer app and realised they were actually coming every 4.5 minutes. Now, they were very regular. Yeah, you're dreaming. Yes, at this point, they weren't painful. They were just the ever such slight cramping. It was enough for me to realise it was definitely something, but I wouldn't class it as painful. So after about an hour, I decided to get up, start my day, and see if things started to either progress or go away, because obviously with Braxton Hicks, if you do move positions, they can ease off. So I wanted to see if that was what was actually happening. So I get up, I get ready, and I'm pretty sure they were still there, and I decided to come downstairs and just watch a bit of TV and chill out. And they definitely carried on for the next hour, and enough for me to call the hospital and tell them the situation. You know, considering they were 4.5 minutes apart, I was expecting them to be quite painful if they were already that close together. But I called up and they explained that everything sounds perfect, and they just wanted me to wait until they became a little bit more intense. And at this point, I think I'm absolutely nailing it, because, you know, they're so close together and they're not painful. I can totally cope with this. I will say as well, that day I was planning on doing a hypnobirthing course, which my friend had given to me, and I definitely wanted to go down that route. You know, I wanted to be in control of my body. I was actually planning on going to a birthing centre, so there was no option for having any medication there bar gas and air, and I think a couple of injections. So yes, I definitely wanted to go as unmedicated as possible. I was definitely open to gas and air. And it's funny actually, I showed my birth plan to you all in a previous vlog, and that never left my bag. So I would actually like to do another segment where I let you know what I did and didn't use pre-pregnancy, so going into the hospital, and post-birth as well, because there is just so much that you do not need, and when you're in hospital, some of the things are just the last thing you're thinking of. So anyway, I think maybe it was about 6 o'clock at this point, and Callum gets up for work around that time, and I'd actually texted him upstairs saying, I think it's happening today. And he was in so much disbelief. He came downstairs and we talked a few things over, how I was feeling, and he managed to work from home that day instead of going into the office. So at this point, I have no idea what's going to happen. I could have done the course really, I think, because I definitely had a few hours where I was absolutely fine, but I think I was just so apprehensive. I didn't know what was going to happen, and I really wanted to focus on my body and how I was feeling. But as the morning went on, they kind of drifted in and out. They weren't as regular anymore, and if I did get a contraction, a tightening, I really had to think about it and whether I was actually getting one or not. And even, you know, Callum turned to me and said, are you getting a contraction now? You know, I was very much like, I think so, I don't know. So at that point I kind of thought it was all in my head, and I was a little bit embarrassed for calling the hospital, even though I shouldn't be embarrassed, I know. I just didn't want to make a big deal out of something. So then, you know, a few hours passed. I was saying to Callum, look, just go to work, you know, I don't think it's going to happen today. But it's a good job he didn't go to work. Around midday, we decided to go for a quick walk just from our house down the country lanes and back, and it's about a 15-minute walk. On the way there, I'm realising I'm walking quite slowly. Things are starting to feel a little bit heavy, a little bit uncomfortable, but it was on the way back that I really felt like he was very low down. I was honestly walking so slowly, waddling, and I could definitely feel the contractions coming back. And I will point out as well, I wasn't sure that they were contractions because I wasn't getting that, you know, wave with a peak and then coming back down. I was just feeling, you know, tightenings, almost like a period cramp. I kind of went back to thinking, okay, this is definitely happening today. And when we came back home, they definitely started to increase, and that's when I felt the contraction come and go. And it even got to the point where I think I went to the bathroom and I had to sit on the toilet facing the wrong way and just sit there and try and breathe, because it was getting a little bit painful at that point, and I just felt like I needed to be in that kind of position. But I think it definitely eased up after those couple of contractions. I came downstairs and it was definitely evident they were still coming very, very frequently. So I decided to make our packed lunch, and I decided to make sandwiches. And as I was making these sandwiches, they were definitely coming, and I had to stop doing what I was doing, so it took me a long time to make these sandwiches. But after that, we called the hospital to say, okay, things are definitely ramping up. I think at this point they were 2.5 minutes apart, so I'm there thinking, okay, I'm really close to labour here if they're that close together. So they asked us to come in, and bear in mind at this point I haven't lost my waters or anything. The only symptom was contractions. We pack the car up and we get to hospital around 3 o'clock, and I'm just trying to get through the contractions, but in between contractions I'm completely myself. I'm laughing, joking, having a great time. So they get me into a room and they do the examination to see how many centimetres I'm dilated. And why no one told me how painful an examination is. I really thought that, you know, they just do this and they can tell immediately. I just thought it was a very in-out situation. But I don't know if it's because I have a tilted cervix that it was extremely painful. I was in a lot of discomfort, there was a lot of blood, and it turns out I was only 3 centimetres dilated, which meant I couldn't be booked into a room. We were told to go for a walk and come back in about an hour's time. Within that hour, I don't even think we were gone for an hour, we decided to go to the car and eat the sandwiches in the car, and I couldn't even take a bite without the next contraction coming. So they were coming back to back, and I thought, I'm never gonna finish this sandwich and I need to get some energy in before it all starts to happen. So I think I do a manage bite at a time in between these contractions, and they were so painful. I was like bracing myself, I was like holding on to the sides of the car, pushing, and I was really trying to hone in on that hypnobirthing mind and hypnobirthing way of getting through labour. I guess once the pain comes, it's very hard to stay focused, and I totally understand how people can lose control of the pain in their body because it is intensely painful. So I want to say it'd been maybe 20-30 minutes and we decided to go back to the hospital because I really couldn't even cope at this point. So we're walking back and I'm clinging on to Callum every time that there is a contraction. You know, people asking me, oh my gosh, is she okay? What's wrong? Like, does she need a wheelchair? Callum saying, don't, she's just in labour, like she's just in pain. So we make it back to the birthing centre, but because I had only just been examined, they could not examine me again to see how far along I was. And you know, me at this point thinking, it was really painful. I had to stand there and collect myself and really breathe, but as the midwife pointed out to me, I was really tensing in these contractions, and she had some really good advice to help me relax. She did say something rude, which I'm not sure if I can say on camera. She basically said, think saggy face, saggy down there, and that will all help you to release and not stay so tensed up. I think if you tense up, that can slow things down, or I'm not sure, but I know it's not good anyway. So I was trying to relax my face as much as possible and just try and breathe and get through them. And I think because of the pain that I was in and because of how far away we were from the hospital, they let us go into a room, and the birthing centre rooms are incredible. I am so lucky that we managed to get into those. Because I had a low risk pregnancy, it was an option for us, and it was just amazing. I think I have some pictures, so I'll pop them in. It was like a spa essentially. If anyone is low risk and hoping to go unmedicated, I would definitely recommend going to a birthing centre if it's an option for you. So I decided to get into the water for just a little bit, but I was finding that position really uncomfortable, sitting in the water, and they could only fill it up so high for me because you know, they weren't sure if I was in established labour yet. So I was only in there for a short amount of time, and as I'm getting out, they're coming in and checking on me, and they're telling Callum, look, sit back, you're going to be in this for quite a long time, it's the first child, you're in for the long haul. So he was about to order a Domino's because we thought we would be there for dinner. In the meantime, I am in excruciating pain. It was really intensifying very, very quickly, and the best position I found to get through them was leaning on a pregnancy ball, but then I also had a peanut shaped ball which I could raise up, and I was leaning my arms on it and like breathing through like this with my head on my hands. And it definitely does get to the stage where you make that mooing sound that people talk about. It was the only way that I could really breathe through them. Apologies for the noise this baby is making. I think not long has passed at this point. We actually got into the room about 4:45, I think it was, and just a couple of hours later I was saying to Callum, like, I really need some kind of pain relief here, because each contraction was almost bringing me to tears. I was like quivering. It was really painful. Now, the pain that I was feeling was all down below, like really low tummy and like in between my legs as well. I didn't get any of the pain in my back or like around my stomach. I think a lot of people have said, you know, it does come in a wave and it comes down, but the wave also goes all around your body. But luckily I never experienced that. It was all just very targeted in that one area, and I don't know if that made it more painful for down there or not, but that's just how it was for me. So they decided to come back in and give me another examination. I'd already braced myself for this because I just knew it was going to be so painful. They had some, you'll see in the picture that they had, I don't know how to describe it, but it was a bed made out of almost like gym equipment. I forget what they're called, but I was lying down on that, and in the examination she said she can't tell whether I was 4 or 8 centimeters. Now, in my mind, I was thinking this must be 8 centimeter pain because it's excruciating. And if it's only 4, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. At that point, I was thinking, give me the epidural, get me a C-section. I don't care. I do not want to go through this pain any longer. But It was all in my head because, you know, I couldn't verbally say it because I was in that much pain. But thankfully they gave me gas and air, and I was straight on that thing, and it really helped to take the edge off and helped just calm the situation. What they'd also recommended was to lie on my side and put the peanut ball in between my legs to help my cervix move round. And again, I don't know if it's because of the examination or the position that I was in, but it intensified so quickly again. And the midwife said she would stay for a few of my contractions just to check I'm doing the gas and air correctly. And I think on about the 4th or 5th contraction, and just at this point as well, they definitely weren't sure if I was far along because the regularity of my contractions were actually dropping. So where they were 2.5 minutes when I came into the hospital, they were actually getting to the point where they were 5 or 6 minutes apart. I wasn't really sure what was going on, but as I was taking this gas and air, I started to get the pushing sensation. Now, no one really explained to me how that felt either. It is like a reflex. It is so interesting. So, number one reason why I didn't want to get an epidural, bar from complications with my back, I didn't want to mask that feeling of being able to push. Supposedly you still can feel that, but I really wanted to experience that feeling raw and as it comes. I thought the pushing sensation was just, you know, I feel like I need to push this baby out, or I was told as well that it feels like you're having the biggest poo of your entire life but you're constipated, which it does actually feel like that when you're pushing the baby out. But the pushing sensation is like a reflex. So think when you're unwell or you're throwing up and you have a gag reflex and like your whole body like wants to throw itself forward, it is exactly the same thing, just I guess in reverse because it's down below. My whole body was jerking and coming forward, and I say to the midwife, is this pushing? Like, am I ready to push? And she says, I don't think so. I think purely because she doesn't think I'm that far along. But looking back at it now, I don't understand how you can't see that that was pushing. You know, maybe because I was a first time mum as well, she thought, you know, I might not be feeling it the way that I should be feeling, or I don't know. I'm sure she could see my whole body jerking anyway and pulling forward. But she actually leaves the room, and the next contraction later, I'm saying to Callum, well, not just saying, I was like frantically explaining to Callum, this baby is coming now. Like, it's just a feeling that you know and you get, and like I was really like having that pushing sensation but not wanting to push because there was no one there. So Callum actually had to press the emergency button and have to go out and say, she thinks this baby's coming, please can you come back in and check. And at this point everything just kind of turns into a blur, and I don't know if it's because of the gas and air that kind of makes you feel a bit fuzzy and like just a little bit dizzy or what, I don't know, or if it is just labour and everything just seems to be a little bit like chaotic and you just have no idea what's going on. I had my eyes closed the entire time. I remember the midwives coming in, I think they must have checked between my legs, and then it was all chaos. I think there was about 5 to 7 midwives running around trying to get everything ready. I can just hear in the background, oh my gosh, we're not prepared, everyone you do this, you do that, and things like that. I could just hear rushing around, like trolleys being wheeled in, and from there it was just go go go. And I think after a few minutes I had my main midwife situated in situ, and I had another girl holding my feet. So at this point I'm still on my side with my legs being held apart. And it's really funny how people say, you know, get into the best position for you, like if you need to change position just do it. And you know, I was very much under the impression that I would give birth like in a squatting position or something like that, but I found once I was in the position I was in, there was no moving me. Like, it is too painful to try and move position. So I was just happy where I was, and I was pushing, my leg kept going dead actually, and so I had to ask, please can you like let go of my foot when I'm not in the contractions. I'm not sure why that was happening, but as well, like with contractions you're supposed to breathe through them, right? So I thought that's what you had to do with a contraction as well, but it's actually the opposite. You have to hold your breath and really push. So I think for the first however many pushes or contractions I was doing, I wasn't doing it right, so nothing was really happening or progressing, I don't think. I just remember the midwife saying push, or like really hold your breath and push. I can't remember how long we were at it for, but it honestly didn't seem that long to me at all. I just remember them constantly checking the baby's heart rate, and at one point they said the baby's heart rate is dropping, and they were explaining a lot to Callum, but again, I'm just not with it. I have no idea what's going on. I can hear midwives saying just check upstairs, like we need to go now, something like that. So I kind of thought, okay, we're gonna have to move on to the labour ward, something's not right here. And the midwife came close to me and she said, just so you know, the baby's heart rate is dropping, we need to get you over to the labour ward for intervention. And at this point I'm thinking, okay, they probably just need to cut me open or something like that. It was still all very frantic, and we didn't actually realise that the labour ward is actually 5 minutes away, walking distance from where we were in the birthing centre. So they had a trolley ready for me to get wheeled off, and even just getting up to get on that trolley was so difficult. And I remember as I got up to stand up and I was leaning on the trolley to try and get up, I had another pushing sensation, and I was shouting, this baby's coming now. I was like, I think gravity is helping, he's coming now. So I was pushing, but he didn't come. I managed to get onto the bed, and I had the most amazing man pushing me or wheeling me through the hospital. What they didn't tell us, thankfully, is that they only had 9 minutes to intervene before any damage to him occurred. And yeah, if they'd told us that at the time, we definitely would have been panicking. I think Callum was already in that panic mode. Callum was absolutely fantastic. I'll show you a picture of one of the midwives managed to get. I was clinging on to Callum for dear life through these contractions as well, and when I was parted from him, it was so like upsetting and worrying. Yes, like I said, the labour ward was 5 minutes away, but this man that was wheeling me through was an absolute hero. He was shouting at everyone down the corridors, move, move, move. That's all I could hear. I'm just lying there thinking, like trying to breathe through it, and I'm still getting these pushing sensations on the trolley, and he's saying in my ear, don't push, and I was like, you don't understand. I was like, this baby's coming now. I don't think I actually said those words out loud, or if they were just in my head, I'm not sure. But you know, I'm just clueless going through this, whereas for Callum, I think it was really traumatic and upsetting. He had no idea what was going on. He just had to run and follow everybody through the corridors over to the labour ward, and I think he thought something really serious was happening to the both of us. I remember when we get into the room finally, I had to get onto another bed from the trolley, and I could hear them keeping Callum behind the curtains. They were saying, Callum, you just stay there for a second. And so then I was really panicking, thinking, okay, something's wrong here, because I know that in the bad situations they don't let the birthing partner in the room or allowed to see. I was panicking and thinking something was wrong. But I don't think they even had time to hook me up, but eventually Callum was allowed to come next to me again, so I was holding his hand, just trying to get through them, and I'm pushing, so they keep telling me to push, and I think the whole time that I was being wheeled, his head was like partially out and stretching my perineum, which was a good thing in the end. So his head, I think, was just struggling to come out, and they probably were going to inject and cut me, or use the suction, but actually in the end they didn't have to intervene at all, which I'm so grateful for. I just had to push and push and push, and he was out within a few minutes. I really remember, if I was going to feel that ring of fire feeling that I saw so many times about when the baby's head is out, and that's not when I got the ring of fire. I remember that's the only time I really opened my eyes, when his head was really coming out, or I think his head was out at that point, and I remember opening my eyes like and I'm like really like hyperventilating, breathing like, oh my gosh, and the midwives were there just going, breathe. I was told it was really good to, I think it was breathe like really quick breaths. And what was getting me through as well, I had a really sweet midwife in my ear saying, like, don't worry now, his head's out. Once you do this next push, the baby's going to be out. He's going to be here. That was just the most reassuring thing to me. And she was just so gentle and nice, and I just knew then, okay, next push, he's coming. And lo and behold, yes, on the next push he slithered out and was placed on actually my stomach, because his cord was actually too short for him to reach up onto my chest. So we didn't get to do delayed cord clamping as long as we'd hoped for. I don't think it was about 15 minutes, so I'm not really sure how long delayed cord clamping can take, but yeah, they cut him so he could actually be placed on my chest then, and that's when I'll say the ring of fire came. I guess it's the aftermath of, you know, your perineum being stretched that much, and it was just like, I suppose I can't really explain it, but what is it similar to? I don't know, it was just, everything was burning, like burning down there for ages, and I was thinking, please, like, when is this going to end? But I suppose it's just, that is the nature, you've been stretched that much so quickly as well that it's gonna burn. But yeah, him being placed on me was just the most amazing feeling. Yeah, I'm so lucky that I was just able to push myself and he was there. The gas and air definitely saved me, for sure. I'm not sure that I would have been able to do it without that. But we're both crying as he's here, and it's just the most magical feeling. Oh, I forgot to mention, so when we were back down in the birthing suite, I remember when I was being examined, she was telling me that my waters were really bulging, and it wasn't until I was pushing that my waters blew, like exploded all over the midwives. The reason I remember it now is because after he came, I had that midwife saying to me, I'm absolutely soaked, you did not give us any time to get prepared. She said we didn't have any aprons on, and our waters just went all over them and soaked them. So I felt a little bit bad for that. But yeah, I thought if that was the case, my waters would have been broken for me, but I guess the birthing centres, they want as little intervention as possible. So that was quite interesting. And I definitely heard that pop sound, and like it was really warm water as like it came out. And I think there was a lot of blood as well. I think Callum was quite traumatized by what he saw. He did actually look as well. The midwife said, oh Callum, like, come take a look. And actually when his head was out, just his head, I heard all the midwives saying, wow, doesn't he look just like Dad? And he does. I don't really think he looks anything like me at the moment. He looks just like his dad. He's a little mini me. But anyway, my battery is flashing, so I need to round this up. I hope the setting is the same. We had a slight intermission. Had to feed little Cash, and he's incredibly upset following his vaccines, and it's breaking my heart a little bit. Hopefully he'll be alright. Where did I get to? I think I was just wrapping everything up. So if any of you are due to give birth soon, don't worry, it will all be okay. Just think positive thoughts as best as you can, and know that each minute you go through, you're 1 minute closer to meeting your baby. They did say for my next one, if we do happen to have another one, they said I'm not allowed to come in and that I have to have a home delivery because there's no way I would make it on time. But that is a whole nother ball game in itself. I forgot to note actually just how long my labour was. They count it from established labour technically. So I was in the room at 5:15 and he came out at 5 minutes past 8. So all in all about 3 hours that I was actually in a lot of pain. So it was a very, very fast one. But like I said, I am grateful that it was fast instead of it dragging out for hours and hours and hours. But I would love to hear your birth stories, so please share them in the comments and I would love to give them a read. If you have any questions, please do let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. I would love to go into detail about my pregnancy trimesters. Whilst I don't have any footage, I did keep a whole diary log throughout my entire pregnancy, so I would love to film that if you guys are interested. Do follow along with me on this journey as well, navigating motherhood and just everything that there is to come. Anyway, that is going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much for watching and for taking the time to hear my story and meet my baby boy. If you've got this far, please leave either a baby or a daffodil in the comments and I will catch up with you guys in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.